Marshalltown does use a part of their capital improvements levy each year to be set aside in the fund, and when they have enough money built up, when they purchase a fire truck, they don't go out and bond for it, they build the money up over a period of time.
Just got moved last week.
Yeah, that's right. You do. The cold makes it that
I
way.
like how there's like a 20 different degree difference, like every 10 feet.
Yeah.
So there's all looking at it. I can't keep track. It probably was.
I always encourage people
That's right. There's nothing wrong with it, man. You're right. I'm glad you're good. Everybody's on board with that.
Hey, how you doing? Good, how are you?
Well,
John?
Happy birthday, Max.
Thank you.
Birthday today?
What?
It was Saturday. Happy
Saturday?
birthday, man.
Yeah, Saturday. Oh, man.
You're 65 now, Medicare age.
That's right, I did sign up. It's crazy. It hurt a little bit.
All right, well, it's 7 o'clock. Is that on?
yes.
It's the council work session, Monday, January 9th, 2017. City Hall Conference Room A, second floor, Bay City, Iowa. We have two items on the agenda tonight, so we'll call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect all council members are present. Is there a motion to second to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Showman, Goldberg, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, well, number one is capital improvement levy presentation discussion. It's something we've been talking about around here for years, getting in a position to do. And so I think everybody's here is pretty familiar with the discussion. Mr. Jacobson, you want to take us through the presentation?
Sure. As I go through this presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about the levy and then give you some additional information on it. If you have any questions at any point in time, just go ahead and interrupt me because I want to make sure I get your question answered at that point in time if you do have a question. What we're talking about here is a funding source that's available to all cities. It's a voter-approved levy, and I'll get into that here in just a little bit. But it's a funding source we've looked at as far as taking care of short-term capital projects. Iowa Code 3847 is what we're looking at. The key here is we may certify taxes not to exceed 67.5 cents per $1,000 of taxable value each year. So we can levy up to 67.5 cents if the voters approve this. My suggestion on this again is to take it to the voters at the maximum amount, but we have some safeguards in here to not necessarily be able to levy that entire amount. The code itself says the question for this is the establishment of a capital improvements reserve fund. We have to identify the time period during which a levy will be made for the fund. You can do this as a sunset levy or you can do it as a perpetual levy. If you wanted to do it for 10 years, for instance, like we do the local option sales tax, you could. If you want to do it for perpetuity like we do the library levy at this point in time, you can. And then we need to tell what the tax rate to be levied for the fund. And in this instance, we would want to identify the language as saying not to exceed 67.5 cents per $1,000. Yes, sir.
Can I just get clarification? The sundown, at the end of that, you have to revote that in?
You would have to revote it in, yes.
And the other one, but if you do perpetual, it can be voted out at any time, right?
Yeah, I'll get to that shortly.
Sorry.
Exactly.
I know it mentions it later in the slides, I just didn't
Yes.
know, I didn't hear.
Here it talks about how it can be terminated. It may be terminated in the same manner upon the council's motion or upon a petition. So if city council feels they don't want to do it anymore, they would do a motion for a to terminate the levy, or there could be a petition of the citizenry that says that they don't want to have the levy anymore. If there are balances remaining in that particular fund, if it is terminated, those balances can be used for pretty much anything that city council desires. They were for a capital improvement levy, but you could also transfer the money into the general fund for operating. Not what I would suggest, because it was intended for a capital improvement levy. Again, I would suggest it would be perpetuity, no sundown in this particular instance. The process for this particular levy, we went through the dates for the special city election. March 7th would be the next special city election we would look at. The county auditor requires the city to have 46 days notice in order to do all the paperwork that they need to do for the particular election. That would mean if city council sees fit to do this and we want to get this in place by March 7th, we have to have this on the January 17th council meeting. January 17th gives us, it'd be 49 days that we would have, so we would definitely meet that 46-day requirement. This particular levy requires 50% plus 1 voter approval. So in essence, we need 50% of the vote plus 1. Even though we would be looking at voting on this on March 7th, we would not be looking at using it for the fiscal year 17-18 budget cycle. It's too late for us to actually plan on using it. We would want to start looking at the 18-19 budget cycle, and that would be the budget cycle we would start next year about this time. For next fiscal year, or for 18-19 fiscal year, there is a small debt service levy increase, and I'll get into this a little bit more in depth so hopefully you understand why I've got debt service levy in here. In the 1920, as we currently stand, we're going to see about a 50% decrease in the debt service levy. And in this particular instance, in 1920, this would probably be the year that we would really look at using this for our small projects. Within Iowa, currently there are 21 cities that use this levy. Marshalltown, which is a city similar to the size of Mason City, uses it. All other cities that use this are under 10,000 population. 15 of those cities use it for the up to the maximum level. The 6 use a range somewhere between 25 cents and up to 67 cents. Some of the things that were purchased with this, and this is the things we would be looking at as well, would be vehicle purchases, any type of office equipment, accounting software, phone systems, police body cameras, park improvements, things like that. Park improvements we talk as the small ones. We may not even include those in there, but these are some of the things that other cities have used it for. Marshalltown does use a part of their capital improvements levy each year to be set aside in the fund, and when they have enough money built up, then they purchase a fire truck. They don't go out and bond for it. They build the money up over a period of time. And you can certainly do that with this particular levy, not necessarily what we're saying to